cause. We are today holding meetings like this, great turnouts, I gotta tell you, in Norwood, in Decorah, here in Dubuque, and later on in the evening in Clinton. Why are we going to those 4 towns? I will tell you why. Because those are 4 towns that had voted for Barack Obama, but in 2016 voted for Donald Trump. So I'm here in Dubuque this afternoon to basically tell people in Dubuque who voted for Trump that I kind of understand why they did. Because when he ran for office, Trump gave a pretty good line. Trump said that he would stand with the working families of this country. He would take on the establishment. I saw some of those ads. They were pretty good ads. Only problem is Trump lied, and it turns out that we have a president who is a pathological liar. He lied then, he's lying now. In 2016, Trump told the people of Iowa, the people of America, that he would provide health care to everybody. You all remember that? Yeah. Everybody. Well, turns out his major health care effort was to try to throw 32 million people off of the health care that they have. Trump said that he would provide a tax program. You may remember this. His tax reform would benefit working families and not billionaires. Well, he lied again. It turns out that 83% of the benefits of his tax proposal went to the top 1% over a 10-year period. And we end up with the absurd situation where companies like Amazon, among many others, where Amazon made $10 billion in profits last year, ended up paying not 1 nickel in federal income tax. That is Trump's tax reform proposal. Trump said he was a different type of Republican, that he was not Paul Ryan, he was not Mitch McConnell. He would not cut Medicaid, Medicare, or Social Security. He lied again. He proposed in his budget over a 10-year period to cut Medicaid by $1.4 trillion. You know what that means? Anybody here who has a relative in a nursing home, there is a good chance that Medicaid is paying all of that bill. You know what it means to cut Medicaid by $1.4 trillion? You're putting that burden right on to the middle class, and you're cutting health care programs for low-income people and for children. He said he wouldn't cut Medicare. Well, his budget proposed an $845 billion cut in Medicare. Said he wouldn't cut Social Security, $20 billion cut in the Social Security disability program. But it's not only the lies that he told in 2016, it's what he has been saying since. Trump has said to corporations, you gotta invest in America, hire American workers. Well, I say to Trump that maybe if he believes in that, he might want to bring back his tie manufacturing. He has a tie company, which is manufactured not in Iowa, it's not in Vermont, it is in China. Oh my goodness, imagine that. And then Donald Trump said, oh my goodness, we got to create jobs here in America, not in other countries. Well, his clothing line is manufactured in Mexico. His furniture line is manufactured in Turkey. His picture frames are manufactured in India. And his shirts are manufactured in Bangladesh, where workers are paid 30 cents an hour. So Mr. Trump, when you tell companies that they gotta come back to America and provide decent paying jobs in this country. Why don't you lead by example? So the issue with Trump is not just that he is a liar, but he is also doing something that no president in my lifetime has ever done. And that is that instead of understanding that the function of a president, and it's such an important function because we are such a diverse population. My father came to this country from Poland. Your parents came from all over the world. We are a diverse population. And the function of a president is to bring us together, not divide us up. And yet we have a president today who is trying to divide us up based on the color of our skin, where we were born, our sexual orientation, our religion, and that's not what a president should be doing. Now, what our campaign is about is different than any other campaign. Because our campaign is trying to do something that has never ever been done before. It is a huge challenge. Our campaign is obviously trying to win here in Iowa. And with your help, by the way, we're going to do that. Our campaign is trying to win the Democratic nomination, and if we win here in Iowa, I'm confident we're going to do just that. And our campaign, once I am the Democratic nominee, is going to beat Donald Trump here in Iowa and all over this country. And by the way, that is just not me talking. Every credible national poll that has been done in the last year has me beating Trump, sometimes by double-digit figures. But here's what makes our campaign different than other campaigns. I'm here not just to ask for your help to defeat the most dangerous president in American history. I am here to ask for your help that on the day after we are inaugurated, we're going to go forward to transform this country and create an economy and a government that works for all of us and not just the 1%. That's not easy stuff. That is not easy stuff, and I want to be very honest with you. The reason that we have a message in our campaign called "It is us, not me," is because I'm going to tell you something that no other presidential candidate perhaps has ever told you. And that is no president of the United States, not Bernie Sanders or anybody else, can do it alone. What we need, and here is the point, and this is thinking outside of the box. You don't see this on TV. You ain't going to read it in the papers. What we need is an unprecedented grassroots movement that tells the corporate elites that we are going to end their greed and their corruption and create an economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%. And I'm very proud to tell you that as part of that process, we don't get our money from the wealthy and the powerful. We are funding our campaign uniquely. All of our money comes from the grassroots. Do you know who the major profession that funds our campaign? It's not Wall Street, it's not the insurance companies, it is teachers. And we get all kinds of contributions. We get all kinds of contributions from workers who make 11, 12 bucks an hour working at Walmart, working at restaurants, waiters, waitresses. Those are the people who are funding our campaign, and we thank them very, very much. And I'm very proud to tell you very proud to tell you, really am, that we are the first campaign to reach 1 million individual donors. And that is more. We have reached that level at a stage of the campaign that no candidate in the history of the United States of America has ever done. And that speaks to the kind of grassroots support that we have. Now, what do we and must we do when we are in the White House together? Well, we got to take on the greed and corruption that exists in Wall Street. We have to take on the greed and corruption that exists in the insurance industry, that exists in the pharmaceutical industry, that exists in the fossil fuel industry, that exists in the prison industrial complex, that exists in the military industrial complex, and that exists within the entire 1%. And our job together is to tell them that a government and an economy in this country must work for all of us and not just wealthy campaign contributors. That is what this campaign is about. And I want to tell you about some of the progress that we've been making. And I want to thank the people of Iowa for helping us do that. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. 4 years ago, I came here to Iowa. Nobody knew who I was, and I was 50 points behind in the polls. But we brought forth an agenda that spoke to the needs of working families. And in town after town and city after city here in Iowa, people were listening, and they said, that makes sense. Let's go forward. And on election day, caucus day here in Iowa, we ended up with 50% of the vote, which got us to win in New Hampshire and win 22 states around the country and 13 million votes. It started here in Iowa. And as a result of that, the program that we brought forth 4 years ago is by and large widely supported by the American people. 4 years ago, before we were here in Iowa, it was radical and extreme. Now it is mainstream, supported by everybody else. Well, we were there first. And we've been there for many, many years, standing up and taking on the establishment and corporate greed. So we came here 4 years ago and we said, you know what? If you work 40 hours a week, you should not be living in poverty. That we got to end starvation wages in this state and in this country. And by the way, I've been all over the state, and I have talked to the people trying to get by on $9-10 an hour, and they can't get by. And that is why 4 years ago I said we got to raise that minimum wage to $15 an hour. And you know what's happening all over America? States are moving. 7 states, U.S. House of Representatives, passed legislation to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And we need equal pay for equal work. Women should not be making 80 cents on the dollar. And we need to, and we got legislation that's going to do this, make it easier for workers to join unions. Four years ago when I was here, I said, you know, the world is changing, and we got to make public colleges and universities tuition free. 4 years ago, that was a radical idea. Guess what's been happening? In state after state, over 12 states, I think now, are moving to make public colleges and universities tuition free. No longer a very radical idea, a common sense idea. 4 years ago, I talked about the incredible burden that student debt is placing on millions and millions of people all over this country. And what I am saying to you now, and I want you all to hear it because this is thinking outside of the box. This is looking at the political world in a different way. 11 years ago, you all remember, against my vote, Congress voted to bail out the crooks, and I use that word advisedly, on Wall Street, who nearly destroyed this economy. Okay? 2 years ago, Trump and his friends gave over $1 trillion in tax breaks to large profitable corporations and to the top 1%. If we could do that, we can cancel all student debt in America. And here's an issue that I've been working on my whole life, and I will work on it till the day that I die. And that is, I believe that health care is a human right, not a privilege. 4 years ago when I came here to Iowa, and I said, you know what? We need to end a dysfunctional health care system which is simply designed to make huge profits for the insurance companies and the drug companies, and we need to move toward Medicare for all. I was told, oh, Bernie, that idea is so radical and so extreme, people in America wouldn't support it. Well, poll after poll tells me that that is exactly what the American people want. Here's where we are today. And I want to say this, I want to spend a minute on this, because last year the healthcare industry made $100 billion in profit. Got that? You can't afford insurance. You can't afford prescription drugs. And they made $100 billion in profit, and they give their CEOs millions and millions and millions of dollars in compensation. The guy was the former head of Aetna. He brought about a merger between Aetna and CVS, major drug store chain. Do you know how much he got for making that merger out of healthcare dollars? Got $500 million. That's where your healthcare dollars are going. So this is what we want to do. We want to end the system in which we spend as a nation twice as much per person on healthcare as do the people of any other country. Think about it. We're spending $11,000 for every man, woman, and child. Canadians are spending half of that. And that's what they're spending, less than that in the UK, France, Germany, all over the world. How does it happen that all of these countries provide quality care to all of their people at half the cost per person that we spend? And the answer is obvious. The function of this system is not to provide quality care to people. It is to make huge profits for the drug companies and the insurance companies. And as president, we're going to put an end to that outrage. Today in America, 87 million people are either uninsured or underinsured. You all know what underinsured means? It means you may have insurance, except it doesn't work for you when you need it to work for you. It means that you got to argue with the damn insurance companies till the cows come home. That's what we say in Vermont. You got to argue and argue to get what you paid for. Meanwhile, 30,000 people a year die because they don't get to the doctor when they should because they're uninsured or underinsured. 500,000 people go bankrupt because of medical bills. Yesterday in Des Moines, we had a town meeting on this issue, and it was very difficult. It was a difficult town meeting to hear from people talking about not getting the health care that they need because they couldn't afford it, cutting back on their prescription drugs, losing loved ones, having their credit shot. You know what happens if you don't pay your medical bills? your credit is destroyed. And you're paying 20, 25%, 30% interest rates. And if you can't get that, then you end up in a payday lender and you pay God knows what. All right? That's what this system is about. What Medicare for All does, and I want to explain it because there's a lot of lies going on about it. And it's the healthcare industry that's already advertising here in Iowa. And understand, every time you see that ad, know who paid for that ad. It was paid for by the drug companies and the insurance companies who combined made $100 billion in profits last year. They love the current system. They're scared to death that we have the momentum to move to Medicare for All. So this is what Medicare for All does. It does away with all premiums. Earlier today, we were at a meeting, and a woman, working class woman, got up and said, Bernie, I'm paying, I did pay, she's on Medicare now. She paid $1,700 a month just for herself for her premiums. You got that? That's $20,000 a year. And then she had to buy prescription drugs, et cetera, et cetera. That's what people are paying right now. Under Medicare for All, no more premiums. You got it? You're not paying premiums. You're not paying co-payments when you go to the doctor's office. You are not paying out-of-pocket expenses because you got a $5,000 deductible. And under Medicare for All, because we're going to take on the greed of the pharmaceutical industry, lower drug prices in this country, nobody under Medicare for All pays more than $200 a year for all of the prescription drugs they need. Now you ask, and it's a good question, how are you going to pay for this? And I'll tell you how we're going to pay for it. We're going to pay for it the same way that every other major country on earth pays for it, out of the general tax base. All right, it's not free, it's got to be paid for. In my bill, which is the lead bill in the Congress, we exclude from increased taxation anybody making $29,000 a year or more. If you're making more than $29,000, you're going to pay more in taxes. But at the end of the day, when you don't have any premiums and co-payments and deductibles and out-of-pocket expenses, everybody in America, except the very, very wealthy, will be paying less, often significantly less than they're paying now for far more comprehensive health care than they're getting now. It's a good deal. So what we are going to have to take on is an industry out there that has unlimited sums of money to lie about what Medicare for All is about. But we're going to win this fight because the American people are sick and tired of paying 15, 20% of their limited incomes in premiums and in out-of-pocket expenses. We're going to win this fight because the American people are sick and tired of not being able to go to the doctor when they need to go to the doctor. They're tired of the complexity, and they're tired of filling out forms, and they're tired of arguing with the insurance companies to get the benefits that they pay for. So we're going to win this one, but it's a tough fight. But the story is the same when you get to the fossil fuel industry. And let me say a word on this. We have a president of the United States who thinks that climate change is a hoax. I think Donald Trump is a hoax. And when Trump talks about climate change not being real, he is endangering not only the United States of America, he is endangering the entire planet. As the President of the United States, I will listen to the scientists, not the fossil fuel industry. What the scientists tell us, not just that climate change is real, that it is already doing devastating harm to our country in the entire world. You can see it with your eyes. You can see what happened in the Bahamas a few weeks ago, the devastation. What happened in Puerto Rico a couple of years ago, the floods that just took place in Texas last week. You can see or hear about the unprecedented heat wave that hit Europe, the terrible fires that are raging in Bolivia right now, the rising sea levels, the extreme weather disturbances, the drought that is impacting people all over the world. A couple of months ago, I went to a town called Paradise, California. I don't know if any of you have ever been there. It's a town of 26,000 people. Do you remember what happened in Paradise? In the midst of a terrible California drought, there was a fire that swept through that town. Town of 26,000 people, 86 people died, 18,000 buildings were destroyed, and $16 billion of damage was incurred in one town. So I happen to believe what the scientists are telling us. And what they say, this is scary stuff. They say that if we do not act extremely boldly within the next few years, the damage that will be done to this planet will be irreparable, unable to be repaired. Now, it seems to me, as a father of 4 and a grandfather of 7, we have a moral obligation to leave this country and this planet in a way that is healthy and is habitable. And that is why I have introduced the boldest, most comprehensive climate change legislation ever introduced by any presidential candidate, or I believe any candidate ever running for federal office. And what we do is do what the scientists tell us that we have to do. We take on the fossil fuel industry and we transform our energy system to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. And in the process, my friends, we're going to create up to 20 million good-paying jobs. And I want to congratulate the people of Iowa. You are one of the leaders in this country in wind. You get 35% of your electricity today from wind. Congratulations, but we got to do even more. I want to touch on another issue that eats at me every day, and that is the very broken and racist criminal justice system that currently exists. This is the United States of America. We should not be having more people in jail than any other country on earth. And as President of the United States, what I will be doing is putting forth a budget which invests in our young people, in jobs and education, not more jails and more incarceration. And we're going to end the so-called war on drugs. And after we legalize marijuana, we're going to expunge the records of those people who were arrested for possession of marijuana. I get to Nevada every now and then, and it's a weird thing. You drive down the street, and there are these big signs. Buy marijuana in this place and buy marijuana in that place. There's all these corporations now selling marijuana, while at the same time people are in jail for having done the same damn thing. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Right now in America, I hope you all know that we have over 2 million people in jail. 400,000 of those people are in jail not having been convicted of anything. How does that happen? Why? Bail. The answer is that poor people when they get arrested, maybe they're guilty, maybe they're not, they get arrested and they need to come up with $500 or $1,000 to get bail. They don't have the money and they stay in jail. That is not what should be happening in the United States of America in the year 2019. So we're going to end cash bail. We're going to end private prisons. So our goal is to reduce the number of people in jail and make sure that when people leave jail, they leave jail prepared to be reintegrated into society with the education and the jobs they need to make it. We have a president of the United States who thinks he's going to win re-election by demonizing the undocumented. It ain't right. It's an ugly thing to do. And what I will be doing as president is not demonizing the undocumented. What we will be doing is providing comprehensive immigration reform and a path towards citizenship. We will be having a humane border policy which does not snatch babies from the arms of their mothers and lock children up in cages. And on my first day in office, through an executive order, we're going to reestablish the legal status of 1.8 million young people in the DACA program. And let me say this here in Iowa, and that is, I know it's not your governor's position, not your legislature's position, it is my position. And that is the right to control a woman's body belongs to a woman and not politics. Not politicians in Washington or state government or local government. I get a little bit tired of hearing all these so-called conservatives saying, get the government off our backs. We want government out of the lives of the American people. We believe in small government, except when it comes to the right of a woman to make a very personal decision. So my promise to you is that I will never appoint or nominate anybody to the U.S. Supreme Court who is not 100% pro Roe v. Wade. And there's another issue that kind of tugs at our hearts, that horrifies us, and that is the kind of gun violence that we are seeing in this country. I don't have to tell you, you already know, that kids in schools all over America are scared about going to school, that we lose about 40,000 people a year to gun violence. That's the bad news. The good news is that the American people, by and large, are fairly united in understanding that we need what we call common sense gun safety legislation. Okay? This is true in urban areas, true in rural areas, true for gun owners, true for non-gun owners. What does it mean? Not hard. Some of the things that we have to do is expand background checks. People who have a history of violence should not be owning a gun. We have to do away with the gun show loophole so you can't avoid the background checks. You got to do away with the straw man provision so you cannot legally buy guns and then sell them to criminal elements. And in my view, and now the view of a strong majority of the American people, we have got to ban the sale and distribution of assault weapons in this country. Those are some of the issues that are out there. Let me just touch on a broad political point here. And that is, you ask yourselves, perhaps, how does it happen that we have a United States Senate that believes in tax breaks for billionaires, cuts in Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and ignoring the global crisis of climate change? How does that happen? And the answer is that you have a Congress that is not responsive or controlled by the American people, but a Congress that is owned by wealthy corporate campaign contributors. So we're going to have a lot of work in front of us. We have to overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision. We got to move to public funding of elections. But mostly what we have to do, and here is my plea to you. I know that all of us at times get discouraged, depressed about what's going on in the country, and we kind of want to turn off the TV and we throw up our hands in despair. But you can't do that. We cannot do that for ourselves. More importantly, we cannot do it for our kids and future generations. We are fighting for the future of American democracy. There's a Marine Corps veteran here, put his life on the line to defend American democracy. That's what people fought and died for, and we're not going to let Donald Trump and anybody else take it away from us. And we are going to create an economy that works for all of us and not just the 1%. So let me conclude by making a very simple point. I'm a United States Senator, and I deal with powerful corporations every single day. And let me tell you, they have extraordinary power. Pharmaceutical industry, for example, just one example, have spent billions of dollars in the last 20 years on lobbyists and campaign contributions, which is why they can charge you any price they want for the medicine that you need. That's the reality of Washington. Wall Street, incredible power. Fossil fuel industry, incredible power. So what this campaign is about is obviously asking for your help to win the election. But I am asking for something even more than that. I am asking for you to be part of an unprecedented grassroots movement which takes on the greed and the corruption of the corporate elite. Are you prepared to do that? All right. That's what it's about. So, bad news is I'll be back the day after we're inaugurated. In the sense that then the real fight begins. And I want you to think of an America, and this is not pie in the sky, this is not utopian thinking. We can create an America where everybody has health care as a human right, does not have to take out their wallet or their credit card to get to a doctor. We can create an America where we have universal high-quality pre-K, and all of our kids, regardless of their income, can go to college and not leave school in debt. We can have an America where people are getting out of jail, not going into jail. Where we treat the undocumented with the respect that they deserve, where women are able to control their own bodies, and where the United States of America is reaching out to the entire world in support of human rights and democracy and bringing the world together in the common struggle against climate change. We can do all of that and more, but we cannot do it if we sit back. We've got to get involved in this campaign, the most important campaign in the history of this country, in my view. So I'm here today to ask for your support. Let's go forward together. Let's win this election. Let's transform America. Thank you.